recent address, he said that we're all inventors, we're builders, we're makers of things, we're Thomas Edison, we're the Wright brothers, we're Bill Gates, we're Steve Jobs. The reality is that under President Obama's administration, these pioneers would have found it much, much more difficult, if not impossible, to innovate and invent and create. Under Dodd-Frank, they'd have struggled to get a loan from their community bank. A regulator would have shut down the Wright brothers for their dust pollution. And the government would have banned Thomas Edison's light bulb. Oh yeah, they just did.
24 past the hour, pretty shot of Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And joining us now, Republican representative from Illinois and supporter of the Romney campaign, Congressman Schock. Aaron, good to have you back on the show. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Mika and Joe. Good to be with you.
Good. We hear your candidate talking about why our current president seems to be not trying to make invention and development happen in this country. How then would Mitt Romney? What's his plan?
Well, I think it's a careful balance of regulation and government. I think the point he's trying to make is that we all want the economy to improve, the president included. You can't continue to put a knife in the chest of the economy that, in fact, you want to improve. And every new piece of regulation coming out of the EPA, coming out of the NLRB, the list goes on and on and on, has made it more and more difficult for businesses to improve. I know Dodd-Frank, for example, has made it more difficult, not for the big banks in New York City, but the small community banks in my district to make lending. Their cost of capital has gone up because the cost to run their banks because of all the new additional regulation has gone up. So, you know, that's the point that Governor Romney was trying to make there, was simply if you want the economy to turn around and you want America to remain the innovative capital of the world, you got to make sure that government is not stifling that entrepreneurial spirit.
Congressman Schock, it's Willie Geist. Good to see you again this morning. You've been spending an awful lot of time with Mitt Romney around your state of Illinois there, not just in the Chicago area, but downstate. I'm wondering what his case has been to the voters in the state of Illinois about moving on without Rick Santorum at his side. He's made nationally very public his desire for Rick Santorum to sort of succumb to the math and get out of the way because he cannot win the necessary number of delegates to get over the top. What's the argument he's made on the ground there to say more conservative voters downstate that despite the fact he's a little more moderate, he's the guy who ought to march forward?
Well, Willie, 2 points. Number one, let me first say that I have been with the governor all over the state. Last night here in Peoria, Illinois, both Governor Romney and Senator Santorum held rallies. As you know, downstate Illinois tends to be more conservative than Chicago and the collar counties. There were a couple hundred people that showed up for Senator Santorum, several thousand that showed up for Governor Romney here in Peoria on Bradley University's campus. So even in the more conservative parts of the state here in Illinois, the voters have overwhelmingly showing up in much larger numbers for Governor Romney, and I think it bodes well for him tonight in the primary. I predict Governor Romney will win. The case is real simple. It's 2 points. Number one, electability, and number two, ability to serve once in office. Illinois voters, even the most conservative, understand Barack Obama better than probably most of the nation, not only because they know President Obama, but they also know his team that is really kind of the Chicago machine apparatus who's run statewide elections here in Illinois for decades. Many of these folks are the same ones that were able to get Governor Blagojevich reelected to his second term. They know how to run tough and dirty campaigns, and we know whoever we nominate is going to go up against President Obama's stated goal, which is $1 billion in campaign war chest. Governor Romney's the only candidate who's put the plan in place in every state, who's run competitively in every state, who's got the fundraising wherewithal to go toe-to-toe with President Obama. Even the most conservative voters in Illinois get it. We got to have somebody who can compete on election day.
Congressman,
second, of course, is time on the job. I don't want to belabor it. You know the point. He's got the track record of turning around states, Olympics, and businesses, and that's conservative.
Congressman, you mentioned his record as governor of Massachusetts. What are 2 things he did as governor of Massachusetts that give you confidence he would govern as a conservative if elected president?
Well, coming from a state like Illinois, where we're the deadbeat of the nation, we have record deficits. We have more debt than any other state in the country. I would say the fact that a state like Massachusetts, with an 85% Democratic House, Democratic Senate, just with a Republican governor like Mitt Romney, he got them to balance the budget all 4 years. I say give me a president who can balance our budget federally, and that's a reason to stand up and vote for the guy. He's proven not to be able to do it in a Republican state with conservatives, but he's been able to do it in one of the most liberal states in the union. The point has been this: we've got no shortage of people with great ideas in Washington, D.C. It's great to preach to the choir, but what we need is people who can actually bring people together, have a track record of doing it. That's number one. Number two, he cut taxes 19 times because he understood you can balance the budget in a state like Massachusetts by lowering the rate because you create growth, supply-side economics as opposed to the Keynesian theory administered by the Obama administration. But finally, he knows how to create a job. I mean, he's been in the private sector for 25 years. He's been criticized over and over for, making all of this money and being successful. Look, I want to hire a guy who's successful to be the CEO of the largest organization on earth, which is America. So I think all those reasons are good enough to vote for this man.
You predicted he'd win tonight. Do you guarantee it?
I'm smart enough to know the minute you say something will happen with certainty, it will never happen. So I'm not going to jinx myself, but I can tell you the momentum on the ground is in Mitt Romney's favor. All the polls show Mitt Romney leading, and I'm confident Illinois voters will put the best man forward to go toe-to-toe with President Obama, and that's going to be Mitt Romney.
All right, Congressman Aaron Schock, thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
Good to see you.